Hello, welcome back to Read the Manual. My name is Kevin, as you probably already know. My voice is going, so that's why I'm a little rough sounding today, but that's okay, because today is a special day, a very, very special day, and you probably already know why. Today, we're talking blooper. Just got this yesterday. I spent a little bit of time with it last night, and it's nuts. I barely scratched the surface, went over just what the manual says, and it's pretty crazy. So I'm really excited to show you guys how this guy works and how you can bloop. Let's go right into it, because this is going to be a long video and we'll probably have to do a part 2. So let's get into it. This is blooper. This is what it looks like when it's just sitting there doing nothing. As per usual, we have the Telecaster. Hello to the second camera. Also, that's fun little new addition I'm trying for this guy. We're going into the Hypergravity Mini right over here, compressor, and that's it. Then we're going straight into blooper. So let's start diving in here. All right. First of all, this manual is beautiful. Whoever designed this, I don't know if it was Knobs, I don't know if it was just someone from Chase Bliss, but it's gorgeous. And we will definitely be referring to this today, because this guy's complicated. And I don't know how much I will be able to remember from last night, because I went through a ton of stuff. Let's go ahead and start with a rundown of the knobs, just names, and then we'll dive in from there. We have the volume, we have layers, we have repeats, mod A, stability, and mod B. And then underneath of that, we have toggle switches for the type of modifier you're using, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then in the middle, we have the switch for the type of function or the way that blooper is going to be used. So we have normal, additive, and then we have sampler. And then we have our recording button here and a stop button there. And then we have these arcade style buttons on the bottom, and all of the lights, which you have one here on the buttons and then 3 LEDs right there, they all tell you what is happening with blooper. So depending on what you're doing, you'll see them light up in different ways. Chase Bliss said in the manual that they very intentionally designed how the LEDs work, and you can see that as you start to use it. They give you little signals as to what you're doing. So let's go ahead and just we'll start in the normal mode here, and we'll just do like a simple, basic, easy loop. The way that works is I'll hit record, I'll start playing something, and then when I'm done, I'll hit record again, and that will just that'll set the length of the loop and begin playing it. So let's show that. So there's our normal loop, pretty sweet. And then we can go ahead and hit stop if we want to stop it. The LED blinks, great. If we want to keep playing it, we just hit play and it'll play. There's a lot of caveats to everything, but I'm just going to take it one step at a time. So you might be watching this and be like, but that's not always the case. You're right. Just go with the flow here. Go with the flow. So now we can just do a normal overdub if we want. And now you can hear that overdub. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and stop that. All right, so A fun little thing we can do is if you press and hold record, then it will record, but it'll match it to the length of the loop, so you're not having to perfectly end it, which is super nice. So let's try and get that showing. Terrible sound, but that's okay. Okay, so that didn't sound too great. So we can undo that and try again. So I'll go ahead and play the loop so that you can hear it. And then what we can do is use the layers knob here to go back and undo that last layer. Now you don't hear the wrong note that I hit, so let's try it again. That's it. That's what I wanted. Great. So that demonstrates how when you see the red blinking when you're hitting record, it's going to set it to the exact phrase or length of the loop that you've already created. So you don't have to think about hitting it right at the right point, which is super helpful for someone like me who's totally new to using a looper for guitar stuff. That also showed us a little bit of the layers and how that works. So the layers can be thought of as a tower. You're building parts up, and as you scroll the knob counterclockwise, you're basically just pulling one layer down at a time, which is really helpful for when you need to redo something, or it can become very musical because I can play this and move my layers back, so all we're hearing is the first one. And then I can say, all right, let's add in the next one. And then I can bring in the next one. Pretty cool. Let's now get into a modifier. Modifiers are different effects. We can go ahead and engage one by pressing the button, the arcade button down here is what they're calling it. Let's go over the 6 modifiers. First, we have smooth speed, and this allows you to adjust the playback speed sort of like a tape machine, so it's very smooth. Dropper is number 2. That pulls out little pieces of your loop, causing them to not play, and it can adjust from being real smooth and subtle to pretty abrupt and deep, as they describe it in the manual. Then after that is trimmer for number 3. It allows you to shorten the length of the loop by bringing the end towards the beginning or the beginning toward the ends. Number 4 is a stepped speed, where it increases or decreases the speed, but in a sort of quantized and harmonic way. And I say harmonic, but like what I really mean is, I say that because it does it in octaves and fifths so that it stays musical. I actually really liked the stepped speed. It's a lot of fun. Then you have Scrambler. That just rearranges the loop. One way makes it go in like a pattern. The other way is random, counterclockwise or clockwise, that is. And then number 6 is a filter, where it'll become a high-pass filter to remove low frequencies or a low-pass filter to mellow out the highs. So let's now get a feel for those. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on our loop. We're on modifier number 1. And the knobs here for the modifiers, pretty much at noon, it's like a central home position. And then when you move it counterclockwise or clockwise, that's when it will start to affect the loop. So we'll start them both pretty much at noon, and then we'll go from there. So let's turn on our first one. So we're going in reverse now. There you go. Sorry, I had the volume down for a little bit there. Alright, let's move on to number 2. This should be dropper. Again, going clockwise here, it's a pattern. Counterclockwise should be random. Make it more abrasive. You can hear how extreme you can get with this effect. And let's move on to 3, which should be a trimmer. Alright, let's move on to number 4. That was the stepped speed, so that was octaves and fifths that it'll take it through when it's going in reverse or forward, depending on it, if you go counterclockwise from noon or clockwise. Let's move on next to Scrambler. This is a fun one to play around with. You should be able to tell that this is random, going counterclockwise. And then if we go clockwise like we were before, it should be a pattern. Pretty cool. And lastly, filter. Sorry about the buzz there. Not sure if it translated or not. Very cool. I really like the effects on here. The modifiers, they're just fantastic. They really make this pedal come alive. Next, while we got this kind of interesting loop, let's give example of stability. Whoops. I hit the wrong button. Stop. It's all upside down, so it's kind of hard to keep everything straight. Anyways, stability produces an analog kind of feel to your loop. It adds in some tape flutter and wow and some static, and it really honestly, it breathes life into the loops, because I don't know, that it can feel a little sterile sometimes. It's nice to add a little imperfections. So I'll take you through the full sweep so you can hear just how intense they get. Let me pull out that accidental recording there. It gets pretty nuts. Yeah, pretty crazy. Lots of flexibility there. Really nice. I like it. All right. So that kind of takes you over the main stuff. Let's now go to the additive mode, because we can start to show how this works. So additive, you create your loop, and then you can start to add things to it. Specifically, this works really well with the modifiers. So let's start by breathing some life into this loop by recording some of the stability on there. So let's go ahead and play what we got. Let's do that about there. And we'll go ahead and we'll press and hold for like 1 second the record button. We'll see it blink red, and that will tell us that it's going to record just for the length of the loop and then be done, which is super helpful in the additive mode. Because the effects will compound on each other if you just let it keep recording, which can create some really cool effects. But when you're first starting, it can get a little overwhelming or do something you're not intending to do right away. So that's when pressing and holding becomes so extremely helpful, because you're not having to time it just right. You can just record over and be done. And we can hear that stability change. Let's go ahead and do one more. Let's add in maybe some filter here. Yeah, something like that. And you can hear already how it's compounding, because if I turn this way up and then turn on that modifier, it's adding even more of a filter onto what we already filtered. And that's where we were before. Layers comes in super handy here when you want to undo something, because we have our filter on. There's with just the stability. There's without stability. There's our stability again. And there's our filter sweep. So cool to be able to go through the whole progression of what got you to that end result with a loop. Very, very fun. And honestly, the repeats knob I haven't even really dove into yet, but what that allows you to do is if we turn it back, then while you're recording, it'll fade out what you previously recorded. And yeah, I haven't messed with that a whole lot, but I'm going to. I've only had this thing for a few hours, so this is my first look at it, really, and just getting you guys started here in case you have any questions. So the other nice thing, I don't know if you noticed, but your loop stays with you as you toggle between the different modes. So we'll switch over now to sample mode, and This allows us to play it by using the stop guy as a trigger and trigger it like a sample. Which is pretty cool. And if we want it to stop after that first time we play, we just press and hold. You see the green LED, and that tells us that it's going to stop right where the end of that loop is, and then I can just trigger it off. When it plays, it's done. Bada bing, bada boom. Really cool if you want to do like, I don't know, maybe a little lick, or if you want to throw something into your blooper. That's just going to be a one shot at a certain point in a song or something, and that way you could just boom, tap it, it plays through, you're done. I really want to try and use this a lot more, specifically the sampler mode, because it's pretty fun. Yeah, so that's all three modes. Let's go back to our normal mode because it's pretty standard. Let's go ahead and play. Sorry, it's backwards, so it takes my brain a second. Alright, let's get rid of our craziness. That's pretty calming. Alright, what should we go over next? Saving. So, you can save 16 loops with layers. With layers. What I'll do now is I'll show you how to recall those those saved loops. There we go. And I did like 5 or 6 little test bloops last night when I was learning this guy. And so we'll be able to scroll through those and you'll be able to see what that's like. So here's how you do it. We flip normally this is a preset knob, and it kind of still is because we're talking about things we saved. But it's a little bit more than that now. We flip it over to the left, and it's going to play a little sample of each loop as we scroll through it. We'll use this button to scroll down and this button to scroll up. Then when we find the loop we want, we will flip this guy all the way over to the right, and that's where we will actually load or save that loop. So from there, you just have to think pretty logically here. This is our record button. This is like our stop button. So if we want to load, we hit stop. If we want to save a loop to there, we press and hold record. And then it does a cool little light show to show you that it's working and that it's putting that loop into what we can play with. So let's dive in. Additionally, the arcade style buttons will blink for whatever number preset it is. So it'll blink once for 1, 2 for 2, etc. You'll see that, and we'll figure out what place we're at once we see it, and hopefully I can see it. So it played a tiny bit of a thing. Let's go up. So we're hearing stuff. Pretty cool. And I think that's it. So we'll go back down. Let's go with this guy. So we'll switch it all the way over here. Press and hold. And now it's loading up that saved loop. Then we'll just switch back to the middle and give it a play. And then we can go ahead and move through the layers on this guy. So I'll do that now. Pretty cool. In case you missed it the first time, let's do it again. So flip over, we hear a sample. Let's go with this guy. Flip over to load or save, press and hold. It's loading, and it is almost ready. Ready. Pretty cool, eh? All right. Lastly, I will probably do another episode of this on dip switches, because there's dip switches on the back here as per usual with the Chase Bliss pedal, but they're different from a normal one. Not really different. There's just a lot of different options because it's a different pedal. It doesn't need just standard ramping across the board. It needs some exceptions. So we'll probably get into that in another episode. If you want to see that, please just comment. Let me know that you do want to see it. And while you're at it, let me know if this was helpful or not. Hopefully it was. But I recorded a loop and saved it where I ramped the filter modifier so that you can hear what the ramping kind of sounds like. So let me give you a quick demo of that. I think this is it. It's hard to know which one is which because the arcade buttons on the front here tell you which save bank you're in, and I can't see it. So let's play it. I think this might be the one. Yep. So if you ever wanted to play around with a wah-wah pedal, a wah pedal, you can play around with it with a looping pedal. It's pretty cool. And then I'm pretty sure, let's find out. So when you're done and you want to delete a loop, you just press both foot switches together. But I'm pretty sure if you delete it, you're not deleting it in that save bank. You're just deleting it for what you're using presently. So let's go with this guy. Let's load him up and let's see what happens when we delete. So here's our loop. Pretty cool. We press both. It deletes the loop. We now have a fresh, clean place to start. Nothing is recorded because this is blank. All right. Yeah, so let's go. Yep. Load that guy back in. Yep. So, in case you were wondering, when you delete, it doesn't delete it from the save bank. It just deletes it from what's currently being used. So, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. This pedal's insane. I'll probably do another video on this. I hope this was helpful to you, and yeah, give me feedback on what else you'd like to see that this pedal can do. It's pretty cool, and that's just covering the surface of like what you can read in the manual, and hopefully it gets you started if you had any questions or couldn't quite figure out something that you were wanting to do. So I will see you in the next episode. Bye.